Today, we are taking a deep dive into Oliver Bulloug's Moneyland. And if you're on the front lines of fighting financial crime, then this is for you. We're going to break down the absolutely bewildering architecture that kleptocrats and criminals use to hide their wealth, often in plain sight. You know this feeling, right? This is exactly what the architects of financial crime want you to feel. They thrive on this kind of complexity, the kind that just seems impossible to unravel. As AML professionals, you live in this dizzying reality every single day, trying to trace assets through a maze that was deliberately engineered to be a maze. This is the battleground. All right, let's start our tour. Welcome to Moneyland. To make this real, let's look at what happened back in 2014, when Ukrainian protesters stormed President Viktor Yanukovych's palace. They didn't just find a home. Oh no, they found a symbol of the most breathtaking greed imaginable. I mean, just look at the sheer, almost tasteless excess here. An ostrich collection, a personal hunting reserve, a priceless Picasso vase that was just casually tossed in with a bunch of trashy ceramics. This wasn't just wealth. It was a catalog of plunder, and all of it was accumulated while he was supposedly living on a modest state salary. And that right there, that brings us to the critical question, the one you have to ask in your work every single day. The assets are obvious, but the ownership trail, not so much. So how do you legally justify this level of wealth? Well, the short answer is you don't. You obscure it. So how did he do it? Well, take his hunting lodge, for example. On paper, it was owned by a Ukrainian company. Okay, but that company was owned by a British one. And that British company, it was owned by an anonymous foundation in Liechtenstein. See what's happening? Each layer is a border crossing, a new jurisdiction, and a massive, massive headache for investigators. This is that classic nesting doll structure, and it's designed specifically to kill any investigation. This whole cross-border system, it has a name, Moneyland. It isn't a place you can find on a map. It's more like a parallel financial world with its own set of rules, built for those who can afford to escape the laws that bind the rest of us. It's the infrastructure that you are fighting against. And the scale of this, it is just staggering. Global Financial Integrity estimates that a jaw-dropping $1.1 trillion in illicit capital flows out of the developing world every single year. That's the sheer volume of value being funneled through the very systems we're talking about. So what's the result of all that? Well, less than 1% of these stolen assets are ever recovered. Now, that's not a failure of effort. It is a testament to just how effective these hiding techniques are. Once the money is in Moneyland, it's pretty much gone for good. So let's open up the criminal's toolkit and see what's inside. The process is brutally simple. You steal it, you hide it, and then you spend it. For our purposes, the real magic, and, the misery, is all in that middle step, the hide phase. The most basic tool, of course, is the shell company. The book uses this perfect, if kind of crude metaphor. It's like the plastic bag you use to pick up something foul. It simply creates a layer of separation, putting legal distance between the criminal and their embarrassing assets. Now, a more sophisticated tool is the trust. The core principle it exploits is absolutely crucial for your work, separating the legal ownership from the beneficial enjoyment. Think about it. If you don't technically own something, it's incredibly difficult for anyone to tax you for it or to seize it from you. It really is a cornerstone of modern wealth obfuscation. And the innovation in this space, it just never stops. I mean, consider this crazy loophole. A corrupt Chinese official uses a Japanese surrogate. Under Japanese law, the surrogate is the legal mother, which makes the child a Japanese citizen. The official can then transfer millions to this child, who appears completely unrelated to them. The asset has effectively defected while it was still a blastocyst. It's wild. Now, these tools become truly, truly powerful when they're used in a game the book calls jurisdictional twister. It's all about exploiting the gaps in the international system. And this right here gets to the fundamental mismatch at the heart of the problem. Money moves at the speed of light, globally, instantly. But the law and your power as an investigator, it stops dead at the border. Every request for information, every treaty, every delay, that's the space where Moneyland lives and thrives. But here's the thing. It's a huge mistake to think this is just some offshore problem based in sleepy island nations. The operational headquarters of Moneyland are often in the very same financial centers where many of you actually work. These are the gatekeepers, the law firms, the banks, the accountancies in places like London, New York, and Geneva. They provide the vehicles, they open the accounts, and they facilitate the transactions. Wittingly or not, they are the ones who hold the keys to Moneyland. And here's the proof in the pudding. Paul Manafort didn't need to go to Panama. He simply used a domestic New York LLC to hide the ownership of a $3 million Brooklyn brownstone. The anonymity provided right there in the US was just as effective as any traditional offshore vehicle. Which brings us to a really shocking and critical evolution in this story. The United States, the country that broke Swiss bank's secrecy, is now positioning itself to become the world's premier secrecy jurisdiction. Okay, so here's how this insane loophole works, and it's all about exploiting definitions. You set up a trust with a U.S. trustee, but you give a foreign person certain powers. Now, for U.S. tax law, it's seen as a foreign trust. But for international reporting standards, it's an American trust. So what's the result? It's foreign to Americans and American to foreigners. It exists in a legal black hole, reporting to absolutely no one.
And get this isn't some accident. Individual states are now in an arms race to attract this capital. South Dakota, Nevada, Delaware, they are actively marketing dynasty trusts that offer impenetrable asset protection, not just for a lifetime, but forever.
And the impact is undeniable. Just look at the assets held in South Dakota trusts. In the decade after the global financial system started to shift, they absolutely ballooned from under $33 billion to $226 billion. That's nearly a seven-fold increase, a tidal wave of global capital, actively seeking secrecy.
The takeaway here is really simple. The services that people once sought in Panama or the Caymans or Switzerland, they are now available with the added seal of stability and power right inside the United States. The old offshore world has come ashore.
And this leaves us with a deeply challenging question, especially for everyone in this field. If the one country with the power to truly police the global financial system decides it's more profitable to become the world's top vault, what does that mean for the future of your work? What does the fight against money laundering even look like then?